Hi everyone, today I want to talk about vegan on a budget, healthy eating without having to break the bank. And I know you can do it. I know we can do it because I literally wrote the book on it. Eat Vegan on $4 a Day. I've done tons of interviews and videos myself about the different topics of this book, and it never gets old. And it is especially becoming even more relevant now in our tough times. We're going through these extreme climate issues, and it's so cold everywhere. Even in Florida, we're moaning because it's going into the 40s tonight, and we have to wear heavy coats. But up north, that means we have to pay for higher energy costs, and it affects us in so many different ways. I heard of a friend putting $20,000 on his credit card this month, and credit card debt, if you watch those YouTubes, through the roof. So we gotta like not sacrifice our health. We have to figure out ways that we can still continue to eat healthfully without breaking the bank. And in here, I have a whole chapter on my top 10 tips of how to eat frugally, eat vegan, especially on a budget. You can absolutely still do this on $4 a day. People always ask me that, and it's totally true. So just think ethnic foods, Chinese, Mexican, Thai, just all different cultures of the world eat some kind of anti-meat form of protein like beans, and then combine it with some kind of whole grain. All right, so the first tip, use your head, not your stomach to shop. I know this is a basic consumer tip, and many of these tips I developed, quite frankly, a long time ago when I was a TV consumer reporter, and I tried to counsel people on the air how to save money so many different ways, but all of these tips actually came from that. I just veganized it. So first tip, don't shop when you're hungry, because when you're hungry, you will buy everything in sight. And it's just important to go shopping on a full stomach, and unless you're prepared to spend more maybe than you want to. When you are satisfied and full, you then stick to your shopping list and don't go off course, which is just so easy to do. In these tough times, many of us are emotionally eating. I mean, who doesn't? And so you have to have healthy foods around when you go down that dark rabbit hole, but just as best you can, don't go shopping right before dinner time when you are ravenously hungry, because your wallet will not thank you. So that's number one. Tip number two, look for unit prices. What are unit prices? Those are the little squares. Sometimes it's like a red color in the square that shows what it costs per ounce to buy this product. And what I'm trying to get you to do is look for the smallest common denominator, the common denominator that all foods have. So, for example, if you're shopping for plant-based milk and it tells you that it's $3, but you'll see in the fine print underneath, maybe, just giving an example here, 20 cents an ounce. So you can compare that to other plant-based milks that have that same breakout, 20 cents an ounce. Now, over my decades of doing this research, and how I did this is every recipe in here has an estimated price based on ingredients you can find at any big box store. And so I went around for years just writing down, this was like before smartphones, writing down the price of like a bag of oats. And then based on a serving, which would be 4 ounces, I kind of drilled out the math, trying to estimate what it would cost for a serving of 4 ounces of milk, or of oats. So if you had 4 ounces of oats, and underneath in the fine print it said that per ounce it was a dime, and a serving is 4 ounces, then it would be 40 cents a serving. Actually, it's a lot less than that for oats, but I'm just giving you a simple example of how this works. So I want you to look for that per ounce unit price if they have them. In my years of doing research for this, sometimes places like Walmart would have them posted, sometimes they wouldn't. And you just have to find a store where they routinely post them. So it really is truth in advertising and good research for the consumer to figure out really what is the least expensive food to buy. Tip number three, buy in bulk, shop in bulk. What does that mean? Go to the bins. Even the health food stores still have big bins where you can buy in bulk. So you take your shovel, your scoop, and dip it into the oats or the rice and put it in a brown paper bag, and then you write the PLU, the unit number for that particular product, and ring it up at the cash register. And that's how that works. And it is still the least expensive way to buy food, if you can. Some places don't have that ability, and you have to, in our post-COVID world, buy in a hermetically sealed container or plastic bags. So if you can buy in bulk that way, generally that is the least expensive way to do it. And tip number four for eating vegan on a budget without breaking the bank is to shop the circumference of the store. So the perimeter of the store is going to have the things that maybe aren't moving as quickly. Manufacturers pay big bucks so that when you walk down the center aisles at eye level, something is going to reach out and say, grab me, buy me. And this isn't just myth. I actually had a very close friend from childhood in St. Louis who went to work for then Ralston Purina, which eventually got sold to Nestle. And she told me stories of how like these movie companies would, the production companies would pay big bucks so that their bottle of Coke could get seen for a split second in a scene. And also she told me how much that these companies were paying so that their products could be placed at eye level at the most popular place in the grocery store where consumers would be able to reach out and take it away. So in addition to shopping the perimeter, the fifth tip then is to look high, look low, because if you have to bend down and squat to get something, that is probably not a company that paid for you to do that, even though that is better exercise for you. Tip number 6 for eating vegan on a budget without breaking the bank is buy store brands. What are those? The no-name labels, or maybe they'll have the store you're shopping at label. For example, what I usually buy, because I often go to Publix, which is the main grocery store in our area here in Florida, is I will buy the Publix brand. And if I want to buy organic, they even sometimes in some of the canned beans, for convenience sake, yes, I won't cook the beans from scratch, even though that's cheaper, I will buy the organic Publix beans. So most of these stores are getting the beans from the major big boys, but for whatever reason, maybe they had a surplus or they're just able to negotiate a deal and put their own label on it, even though it may be some major brand really behind the scenes. So that's just something keep in mind that you should keep in mind. Buy the store brands. My 7th tip for eating vegan on a budget is pay with cash. And you might be going, well, why? Because if you're really on a budget, what you do is, if you're getting paid or even if you're not, you take money out in the form of cash and put it in a drawer and say that's $100. That is your money for the week. If you are sticking to a budget of $400 a month, you take it all out in cash, put it in a drawer, and when you get to the end of that $100 for the week, you are going to get yourself invited somewhere else for dinner or lunch, and you are done. So it's just a way to really easily stick to a budget, which a lot of us have trouble doing in this day and age. And some of us are just used to using that credit card, as all the YouTube stories on credit card debt in this country show that we are not real good at sticking to that budget. So paying with cash is just one little technique to do that. Number 8 for eating vegan on a budget is keep your receipts. Now, I know that most of us pay with our smartphones through some app, and however you do it, it's just important to check in every day to see what you're spending. If you keep the receipts, then you can really tell, like, okay, did I buy beans last week at a dime for an ounce, or was it 20 cents for an ounce? How do I know which store really has the best price? Because it's hard to keep all that in your head. Now, there are some great apps out there where you can kind of download or even scan the QR code or the UPC code and figure out what it is the price is and keep track of it that way. Whatever works for you. But just keeping track, it's like being on a diet. You know, when you first start, you are obsessed maybe writing things down, or you've got an app like MyFitnessPal that does it for you, so that at the end of the day, you can look and see how many calories you've consumed. It's the same way with spending, no matter what it is, whether it's food or something else. But an educated consumer is so important when you are trying to figure out, how do I save money? How can I cut back? You got to know what you're spending in the first place to do that. The next tip for eating vegan on a budget is buy from a local farmer or a CSA. A CSA is a community supported agriculture farm. In our area, there's a big one called Warden's, and it's really great because it's this farm down in Southwest Florida near the Fort Myers, Punta Gorda area, where they grow all this produce, and it's all organic. It was is a husband and wife team, and they were college educated about how to grow organic food. And so what they do is they make this produce available to different drop-off points. In our area, the closest place is Lakewood Ranch, Florida. I have to drive about 15 minutes if I want to go order their produce, and these drop-off points make these boxes available. So the way it works is you pay like a membership every week, and for about, when I was doing it, $17 to $25 a box, you would go to, ironically, a candy store, and these boxes would be there full of great things like kale and spinach and onions and potatoes, the things that grow well in the loose, sandy Florida soil. And every week you would go back to the same place, and it's sort of like potluck. You got to take whatever they give you, whatever happens to be growing well that particular week or month. And of course, it's all subject to the environment, although I never had any issues with flooding. I belonged to one up in the Bradenton area called Geraldson's, and that was closer to where I lived at the time. But point is, if you go on a website called localharvest.org, You can find any CSA that's close to you. All you do is enter your zip code or click on a map of where you live, and it will tell you the CSAs or any farm co-op near you. So it's great. You can go to these places sometimes at the end of the week, the end of their cycle, where they're actually getting ready to throw away produce, and often you can get them at a discounted rate. Or if you do what's called a work share or volunteer to work for them, you can get the produce for free. And I've done all that, and it's just an amazing way. I raised my children, who are now major adults in their 30s and almost approaching 40. I took them to our co-ops in our area. We even had a semi that pulled up from another co-op that would deliver dry goods to us. And there are ways you can still do that, although shipping now has become very much of an individual thing, not done too much in co-ops anymore. But all those different methods are ways of trying to cut down your expenses, and you just have to look in your area or online to see what's available for you. If you order in bulk from these co-ops, then you can, we would have what's called the big divide, and people would show up at our house when the semi arrived, and we would divide all of this food, and it was great fun for the kids who were young. And I remember going to a farm stand when my middle daughter was young, and she just was looking at all the different colorful produce, and she popped one of these things in her mouth and said, "Mom, is this candy?" And the farm stand owner goes, "No, honey, it's cherry tomato." My kids never had sugar, and so fruit tasted naturally sweet to them. And they were also the kids, by the way, who in nursery school, when they would go on a field trip to the farm, the farmer would hold up this green thing and say, "What is this, kids?" And all the other kids would go spinach, and mine would go kale. So if you raise your children in this method of being around all this kind of healthy food, that becomes their normal. So I encourage you, a long tip there, but just make sure if you have children or are around children that you expose them to healthy foods as well. More challenging in our day and age for sure. And then my final tip is grow your own. And again, this is one way my children became very adept at knowing what different kinds of fruits and vegetables were. And you just have to explore the soil in your area to see what is going to grow and what your soil is conducive for growing. And if you don't know, a great resource is to call the Extension Service from the state or the county, and they will often say, just bring us a sample of your soil and we'll analyze it for you for free and tell you, you can go from there, what kinds of things will grow well. In Florida, we're very lucky with the CSAs. I was able to see, of course, firsthand what kinds of things would grow well. And again, depending how much time, land, and resources you have, you can certainly do this. We have neighbors who do spend quite a bit of time planting things in earth boxes, so that helps. You can fence those in, and that helps protect against the rabbits and deer and other critters that like to eat those things too. So earth boxes are great for growing herbs. I do grow basil, which refuses to die no matter how much I try and deprive it of water. And a lot of herbs will grow well without a whole lot of maintenance. And you'll find that in your area as well too. Just grow them in a protected area. And sometimes if you can't get your spinach or kale, having a little parsley or thyme or basil added to your spaghetti sauce is one way to get those greens. All right, everyone, I hope these tips have been helpful. If they are, please don't forget to like and subscribe below. And let me hear what are your favorite tips for saving money, because I certainly don't own the license on that, and I'm always looking to learn from what you guys have to say. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Gotta run.